What's good, everyone? It's Steve from SnkrTechTalk, back with another video today. For today's video, I did want to do a comparison between the Nike Jaw 1 and the Adidas AE1, two of the NBA's premier young players here in 2023. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so starting off with the traction on the bottom of the shoe, the Nike Jaw 1 has this multi-directional traction pattern right here. The grooves are pretty thick. I think you could play with these outdoors. As far as indoors go, they're absolutely elite. I love this traction setup. They bite fantastic on court, on clean or dirty surfaces. It does not matter. This traction pattern is amazing. As far as what you're getting on the AE1, you're kind of getting this delta pattern or really long and widespread herringbone traction pattern. And again, this performs great also, but the only thing is with dust, you will have to wipe every so often. As you can probably see right here, they do collect a bit of dust. Overall, if I had to say one was better than the other, I would say the Nike Jaw 1 does take the cake as far as the traction goes, but the AE1 is no slouch. Nonetheless, I do think this is just the better performing traction pattern on more court surfaces, and I do think this would perform a little bit better outdoors, but overall they're both very durable and they both bite great on an indoor court surface. As far as the cushioning setup on the Nike Jaw 1, you are getting a very basic setup. You are getting a Phylon midsole with kind of a stick tape of gum right here of Zoom in the forefoot. This setup right here is pretty basic. In the forefoot, you do get a bit of spring back with that Zoom bag underfoot. It's very close to the floor and it's a pretty responsive setup, but it's just basically pretty cheap. And over time, this Phylon will break down and it'll feel a lot more dead in the heel. The Zoom in the forefoot should last a bit longer. So overall, it's a pretty basic setup, but I don't mind them on court. Now with the AE1, it offers a ton more bounce. So from basically right here back, you are getting this oversized boost heel puck. And then in the forefoot, you are getting light strike. So the overall impact protection and heel to toe transition in this is definitely a lot nicer. The only thing is this cushioning setup is very heavy underfoot and can kind of weigh your foot down over time on court. So keep that in mind. The Nike Jaw 1 is much lighter when it comes to the overall cushioning setup, but I just really enjoy the plush impact protection that the AE1 does offer. And not to mention in the forefoot, that light strike does taper and thin out a bit. So you do get decent court feel in the AE1. So as far as the cushioning goes, the one that I do like more is definitely the AE1 with the boost and the light strike in the forefoot. The Jaw 1 is definitely no slouch, but it's much more of a cheaper setup. And not to mention, both of these shoes retail for about $120. So I will say that the Adidas AE1 does take the cake as far as the cushioning goes. As far as the fit goes, right off the bat, I went with a size 10.5 in both of these shoes, and they both offer a very snug one-to-one fit. So as far as the Nike Jaw 1 goes, this shoe just fits fantastic on your foot. And as you can see right here in the toe box, it's very tapered and it runs very close to your toes. So there's really no movement within this shoe. And my toe is sitting right about here at the end of the shoe. So very much a snug one-to-one fit. I really enjoy the fit of this shoe. I really have no concerns as far as the fit goes. It's very elite on foot in my opinion. And as far as the AE1, it's more or less the exact same as far as the fit on this goes. No movement, very tapered in the toe box. As you can see right here in the toe box, it is pretty tapered. So overall, very much a snug one-to-one fit, no movement within the shoe. I think they're doing a great job kind of offering this booty upper right here, and just the way it fits on your foot and the overall lockdown in the AE1 is fantastic. So as far as the fit goes, I would have to say it's a tie between the Nike Jaw 1 and the AE1. Both of them are elite as far as the fit goes. I will just mention, if you are a wide footer, I would go up half a size. I think the AE1 fits a little bit more narrow, but as you can see here in the Jaw 1, it does kind of taper in near the toe box and there's not a ton of volume. So if you are a wide footer with both of these shoes, I would go up half a size. As far as the materials go with the Nike Jaw 1, you are getting this very much open cell mesh right here at the toe, on the side panel, on the lateral and medial side. You are getting some synthetic leather here at the heel and around the toe box. It's kind of like a fuse setup here for some extra durability. But what can you say considering this shoe retails for about $110 or $120? At the heel, you do kind of have some screen mesh hits right here. And then on the tongue, you kind of just have a standard mesh with some more synthetic leather at the top. So a very basic setup. But on the AE1, I would say I like it a lot more as far as what they're offering. So you're getting a pretty basic mesh at the top that does wrap down the tongue, kind of like almost like a memory foam or a thick padded foam setup right here on the tongue. And then as far as the side panel and the midsole, you are getting kind of like a rubber or polyurethane setup. And I just love the aesthetics and the way they implemented this material right here on the side panels, on the medial and on the lateral side. And then at the back of the shoe, you are getting this plastic heel counter that does kind of look like carbon fiber. And then on the toe, you are kind of getting this cheap felt material, but it is a nice hit as far as offering some older materials and looks here on the AE1. So as far as the materials go, if I had to say that I liked one more than the other, I would say that I do like what Adidas is offering here on the AE1 as far as the materials go. As far as breathability, I would say both of these shoes are basically a tie. With the AE1, you do kind of have this honeycomb pattern with this open cell mesh behind it. So they are very breathable on the lateral and the medial side, not so much at the top of the shoe with that other material, kind of like mesh material. It's a lot more hot at the top, but on the side panels, you do kind of have some venting with those honeycomb patterns. Now on the Nike Jaw one, you do have this mesh material at the toe and on the lateral and on the medial side. So this shoe is actually pretty breathable as well. So as far as breathability goes, I would say both of these shoes are about the same. So as far as the weight goes, both of these are a size 10.5. The Nike Jaw one does come in at 13.85 ounces and the Adidas AE1 comes in at 19.15, so over 5 ounces lighter in the Nike Jaw one. So as far as weight goes, these easily smoke the AE1 as far as how they feel on foot. They feel pretty lightweight. These definitely feel a lot heavier. So like I mentioned in the performance review, do not skip leg day if you're going to be wearing these for basketball. As far as the support goes on both of these shoes, I enjoyed both of them. I will say right off the bat, I do think this is a more supportive basketball shoe, but I don't think this is lackluster by any means, especially for the price points of like $120 over at Nike and Adidas. So what you're getting over here in the Nike Jaw 1 is an internal heel counter. This material really does a good job as far as harnessing your foot within the shoe. You are getting these synthetic leather panels on the lateral and medial side. So if you really crank these laces down, it's gonna wrap around your foot. And then you're also getting kind of like this fuse material that runs near the bottom right here. And your foot does sit housed ever so slightly within this midsole. So on those hard lateral cuts, you will be good to go. You do have a slight outrigger right here on the Nike Jaw 1. And then on the bottom of the shoe, the forefoot is a very wide and stable base. And then you are getting a TPU shank plate here in the midfoot. So you do have some torsional rigidity, some nice flex in the forefoot. Overall, a very supportive basketball shoe. You're not getting support by having a taller shoe. You know this now. You get support by having a very snug one-to-one fit, a very rigid internal heel counter, and just great materials that are going to support your foot on those hard lateral cuts. And the Nike Jaw 1 does just that. On the AE1, you are getting a very wide and stable base at the bottom with this X shank plate right here. It does basically run full length. And then in the forefoot, there is a top-loaded shank plate. So there's two shank plates right here, a ton of torsional rigidity right here in the AE1. You are getting a very large outrigger right here. So if you do land awkwardly, this shoe should be good to go. And then on the upper right here, this rubber or polyurethane material, if you do make any hard lateral cuts, this houses your foot in very nicely on the lateral and on the medial side. And then at the back of the shoe, there is a ton of support and just rigidness here at the back of the shoe with the internal heel counter and the external plastic TPU heel counter right here. So as far as the support goes, I would have to say that this shoe is a bit more supportive than the Nike Jaw 1, but all things considered, this is a very supportive basketball shoe as well. I do just think Adidas does it a little bit better here in this model. So as far as the support goes, I'm gonna have to give the slight nod to the Adidas AE1. So that's going to do it for today's performance comparison video on the comparison between the Nike Jaw 1 and the Adidas AE1, two of the NBA's most premier players, and may I add, very young players. I I know Ja Morant just made his comeback, I think a night or two ago, and I think this is a very good basketball shoe, especially if you can get it for the retail price point of between $110 or $120. I think the traction, the fit, the materials aren't bad. They're a little bit cheap, but they do perform very nicely. And I do think this is a very supportive setup that Nike is offering on the Ja one. And then the AE1 has very nice traction. Also, the cushioning is a little bit better on this model right here. I would say it's also a little bit more supportive. And I just love the futuristic design of this shoe. I think it's absolutely bonkers on what Adidas is currently doing with their hoop shoes. So I will definitely give the slight nod as far as the performance goes to the AE1. My only gripe with the shoe is that it's extremely heavy, like absolutely crazy, like almost 6 ounces heavier than the Nike Ja 1. But I enjoyed my time in these, and I still love taking the Nike Ja 1 out to hoop from time to time. I do need to grab another colorway or two before they dry up, and they do bring out the 2s. So overall, I enjoy both of these shoes on court. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think as far as the aesthetics go of both of these and what you guys prefer on court. But that's going to do it for today's video comparison between the Ja 1 and the AE1. As always, if you guys can like, comment, and subscribe, that does help the channel a ton. And check out my Instagram over at SnkrTechTalk, as it is an extension of my YouTube channel with all my pickups, basketball footage, and nostalgia as a whole. As always, thanks for watching today's video, and until next time, peace.